talk about survive and advance here. We escaped, what was the final score? 71-65 against the 16 seed Siena, who effectively only played 5 players. And I think before we get into the problems that Duke had in this game, I think it's important to give Siena a lot of credit. I thought, it's kind of funny. The first couple of minutes, Duke was hitting shots. Evans hit a 3 early. Kaden found Malik for an oop. But Siena responded really well, and then they, in part, limited us, and then also felt like Duke settled for threes early, and Siena was able to take the lead and maintain the lead for the vast majority of this game. And it wasn't, it took a long time for Duke to get the lead back. It wasn't until under the 6-minute mark where Duke tied the game and then eventually took the lead on a nice Evans 2. But major credit in this game to Doty, Folefak, what's the point guard's name? Was it
Coyle?
The shooting guard, Coyle, Schultz. Those 4 guys really played really well for this Siena team, and in a great coaching job. And as John Shire said, out-coached in this one by Jerry McNamara. So before I'm sure we'll spend a little bit more time later on, but before we get to anything Duke related, I got to give them major credit for what they did for the majority of this game.
For the majority of this game, it looked like we were about to go in the history books, and not in a good way. And, I kept wanting there to be some recognition that Duke was playing without 2 starters, but this was like out of Hoosiers. These guys were like playing the entire game and with so much heart. I think that's what bothered me in the first half more than anything, was it didn't seem like we were playing with any heart. And, especially after the run with the same group of guys after the ACC, the first half, I couldn't believe what I was doing. But then I suited up for the game, and I led the comeback, and we shaved 7 points off, and an 11-point lead became a 4-point lead. But even that wasn't good enough for a long time.
You did. I was in a complete state of shock. Now, I think it's important to say, when we made our score predictions, we did think Big Pat was going to play. And the way John Shire was talking about Pat coming back was very positive. And then last night, or whenever, that's when I saw it, the pregame press conference. But when he gave his remarks about Big Pat, his shoulders were kind of slumped over. He looked a little discouraged, and he was asked a good question by Brendan Mark, so I have a little love-hate relationship with, from The Athletic. And he said, did he have a setback? And Coach Shire said no, that it was really a day-to-day thing. But I thought it was a great question, because the way Shire had been talking about it was where it's precautionary. We're just keeping him out, of the AC tournament, so he's ready for the NCAA tournament. And then when he was asked about it over this past weekend, it was, he's made great progress. He's going to be ready to go. I feel like something changed there, is my interpretation. And we really need Big Pat back. And I don't know if we're going to get him back Saturday. I think we're in for a tough game Saturday. But before we start talking about that, I want to try to maintain my focus on this game. Because, Jay, if you would have told me a month ago, heck, 2 weeks ago, that Duke would need a Boozer to lead them to victory in the first round matchup, and you would have told me it was Kaden Boozer who we really needed, or not who we really needed, but who played an amazing game, I would not have believed you. 2 weeks ago, maybe even a week ago. And Kaden Boozer, again, it's been a couple of games now, played phenomenal. and in many ways saved the day for Duke against Siena. And my only complaint with him early, I thought he showed he had an advantage getting into the paint, and he wasn't aggressive enough. And I thought as the game went on, he became more and more aggressive, and that was a big key for Duke in winning this game is him driving the ball, getting inside, and then even late in the game, he hit a big three. And Kaden Boozer, that's 3 games in a row now where he set his career high. We we may need it to be 4 on Saturday, but major hat tip to Kaden today, tonight, today.
I still don't know if I'm breathing yet because I was standing the entire second half. For the older people, it was like Jerry Tarkanian with a towel in my mouth, yet I was cheering. I don't know how you quite do that, but I want to give, I don't know whether they were deflated by Big Pat not being there. I don't know, but I want to give Coach Shire a real shout out for the adjustment he made in setting up that triangle trap on them, knowing that they were not making substitutions and then falling back into a zone so that it was going to be harder to shoot at will 3-pointers. And we still could have lost, Jack. Think of how many times they missed dunks. The big guy hit it off the back of the rim. They still could have, if they just hit their shots at that point, we still could have been on the other side of history here.
Yeah, I mean, we had our largest deficit of the season, 13 points against Siena here. And to your point, there's 2 opportunities that were missed on dunks to stretch that to 15 for Siena. The first was a wide open dunk that Mulvey missed, who in the second half couldn't make a bunny until he got offensive rebound at the end. And then Folefak at least was somewhat contested on his dunk attempt that didn't go down. And then Evans was able to get the dunk. That was a really big moment for Duke. If that goes to 15, we could be, as you said, this could have been in the history books, and not in a good way at all. And I think that was the most frustrating part of the game for Duke. For me, wasn't so much that they were, settling for threes, especially in the first half, but if not felt like Siena for the first 20 minutes of this game, 25 minutes, however you want to splice it, outcompeted Duke. Got the loose balls, out-rebounded Duke, and those were all things that whether Duke had 9 guys, 8 guys, 7 guys throughout the entirety of the season, that was the area which made me the happiest to watch this team. They just outcompeted their opponents. And this afternoon, for the majority of this game, Siena clearly outcompeted Duke. Whatever numbers you want to use, just the eye test and the numbers, quite frankly, for a large stretch of this game, Siena just wanted it more. And then, to your point, I thought there was a schematic change that Shire did. I thought the way Evans came out in the second half, he was aggressive attacking the rim. He wasn't settling, and I thought that was really important for Duke. And then as they got deeper into the second half, we started to see a little bit more of, okay, we're getting some offensive rebounds. We're playing Sarr had some nice plays defensively. He stopped an alley-oop. He blocked a dunk attempt. The question, though, JD, is how much was Duke playing better as the game went on, playing with more of a level of urgency and competitiveness versus Siena just being tired. They didn't substitute until there was like 12 seconds left in this game.
You could argue about that for a while, that it really was that these guys were just exhausted. But by the second half, it was very interesting because we were like saying in the first half, we've got 2 Boozers and nothing more than that playing against them because no one was playing with any heart. But what happened in the second half, Shire makes this very interesting adjustment, and it turned into a 5-on-5 rec game with basically, because Malik did not have another good game. We'll talk more about that later. And Darren Harris wasn't. So Duke was basically playing five guys, and they were playing five guys, only they were playing five guys the entire game, and their five guys just ran out of, they had nothing left.
And you could argue for both teams, they offensively didn't have five guys. Like, what was Mulvey doing for Siena? Not much help. Doty was hitting a lot of tough shots. Coyle, just when you thought early in the second half Duke was going to take the lead, Coyle hits a pair of threes. Folefak hits his fifth and sixth threes of the season in this game. Just absurd, but he had a fantastic game. Doty hit a number of tough shots, and I do think Shire mentioned McNamara outcoached him. One of the things you remember when we went over in the preview, I asked you how would you line up, with Siena's perimeter options, and we came to the conclusion we would have Sarr on Doty, and we had Evans on Doty to start the game, and Evans did not play well defensively in the first half. I thought he got better in the second half. Part of it being we were in the zone. And then
also Sarr, his two block shots when you didn't, I thought they were fouls, and then you see the replay and you realize they were phenomenal blocks.
Yeah, he didn't give us anything offensively really. He had he made some good decisions as the game went on in terms of not taking shots, which I thought was smart on his part. But the point I was getting to before is offensively, there was really four guys for Siena because they weren't getting anything from Mulvey. And then for Duke, it was really three guys. It was Evans and the Boozers. We didn't get much from Sarr. Not much. We don't really expect much offense from Malik. And Nick did not have it this afternoon. He just couldn't get his offensive game going. He did hit a big three in the second half.
It was a big three because then he got into the game in terms of, connecting on defense and following the plan that Shire laid out. And so first half, it was like, we're back to the old Humenia. And maybe you shouldn't have made your video.
You want to know what's funny about that? That Duke put out they had Sebastian Wilkins in the locker room, like interviewing guys, and I forgot exactly what the reference was, but I think he asked them like something about their favorite animal, and he mentioned the Lion King with Nick Humenia. That was pretty weird. I don't know if they saw it, but
all right, Jack. A couple of things. If you like this show, please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Follow us. Share us with a friend. It helps the whole thing grow in terms of our own brotherhood here. And I think we should get to the medals and then get to the chat because we're on late, and I'm sure there's people there.
Yeah. Well, let's go to stats just quickly, and then we'll go to the medals. So, stats. This was a rough one. We shot 41% from the field and 19% from three. However, JD, big one, 18 of 21 from the free throw line, led by Kaden Boozer, 13 of 14. He did have 13 rebounds. He had a really good game from the free throw line, but the rest of his game really was not very good. 22 points, which is pretty good, but 4 of 11 from the field, 1 of 5 from three, 3 assists to 5 turnovers. He did have a big block, 5 offensive rebounds. It just, statistically, I think it looks a little bit better, but there was a moment in the game late in the second half where he caught the ball in the middle of the zone, and for about 7 seconds, it was like he was doing some sort of dance or something instead of attacking, which he did later in that possession when he got in a similar situation. I don't know how much of this is he was tired. He played almost the entirety of the game and a lot of the game at center. But So did Siena. So I can't even give him that benefit of the doubt there. Malik had 6 points, 8 rebounds. Good rebounding game, an important tip out towards the end of the second half.
Yes.
But for Malik, how many deflections? 3,
Nope.
maybe, somewhere in there. No steals, no blocks. Just not, again, third game in a row, you didn't really feel his presence. Dame, 5 points, 0 for 4 from 3, 3 of 4 from the free throw line, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks. I felt like his defense, especially in the second half, was very good, even though he didn't give us much offensively. Evans, 16 points, 10 rebounds for Slim. Really got it going in the second half. Really proud of his effort. A lot of guys, after a first half, the way he played, could have let that affect them mentally, and he came out really aggressively. So, hat tip to him. And then Kaden Boozer, the man of the game here. 19 points, 5 assists, no turnovers, 2 steals, a couple of big steals for him as well. And then Nick with 3 points, the big 3 rebounds, and 1 rebound. A nice offensive rebound for Darren Harris, but didn't hit any of his shots. JD, anything from the stats before I hit the medals, and then we go to the chat here?
I think the stat line for Kaden Boozer, as you mentioned, it was another high with 19 points, but 5 assists, 0 turnovers in 39 minutes in a highly contested game. I mean, we were mourning the loss of Caleb Foster, and Kaden Boozer has become, through the ACC tournament and today, why he was highly sought after, as well as his brother. I mean, not to the degree, but you found out how good this guy could be.
Man, some of his drives in this game were just phenomenal. The way he was able to finish in a variety of ways around the rim. He's got really nice touch on. It's like that close range floater. When he's a little bit further out, it's not quite as good. But when he's within 8 feet of the rim, that's where it's like his money shot right there. And he's just been playing superbly after that Florida State first half. And it's a great segue for me into the medals because Kaden Boozer is clearly the gold for Duke in this one. In a game where Duke did not have it, he did. And he saved the day for the Blue Devils. Isaiah Evans had a phenomenal second half. He gets the silver. And then I know this sounds kind of strange to say in a game in which he had 22 points and 13 rebounds, but Cam Boozer gets the bronze by default. There really wasn't anybody else in contention for the bronze medal. All right, JD. You ready? Let's go to the chat.
Let's go to the chat.
All right, Mr. Moore. I read people's comments saying I'm not worried about Siena or talking about Saturday's game. I was thinking, wow, people are overlooking Siena. I'm always skeptical of every game, and this is why. I understand where you're coming from. I still thought without Big Pat, I know in my prediction I thought we'd win by 35 or something, but I did think we'd have Big Pat. Without Big Pat, I still thought we'd win by 20. I just didn't think they had the 3-point shooting to stay with us. And, I mean, we shot, what was it,
19% from 3-point range, which is just horrendous. But, it's why this tournament is a 6-game winning streak. Yes, if you want to be the national champion, but you've got to play them one at a time. And Duke got a heck of a scare here. And what was it? Malik gets interviewed at halftime. And what did he say, Jack?
I forget the exact wording he used, but he said something about like us thinking of it as like a cakewalk, which when they asked in the pregame press conference, they asked, it was Evans, Saar, and Cam. Kind of a similar question, like, are you overlooking Siena? And Isaiah gave a great answer, which was, I'll paraphrase here, but he basically said, Listen, this is one game at a time. You lose, you go home. We're not overlooking anybody. And
It,
Malik isn't typically interviewed, so I wonder if he kind of slipped up a little bit there, but it was not a good answer.
it also may have been that he meant to say, because he isn't interviewed a lot, that we made a mistake by it. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's just too much of a good guy. But filling out the brackets, we looked at every game and we said, boy, that could be a tough game, the 8-9 game. Even if we had Pat, all we had to do is win by one. I don't think we ever looked at the Siena game as being, yes, we got to win it, but I didn't think that was where we were going to start at saying we got to survive by one.
Completely agreed. Completely agreed. It's funny. I thought about that earlier and I forgot about it when the bracket was announced. I had the same thought. Like, there's a lot of games in here, especially without Big Pat, that are going to be very close games. But I figured we'd be good with Siena. I am worried about TCU. However, I think we played in a lot of ways not to lose, and I do think it helps to get this 116 out of the way, and especially a guy like Nick, it seemed like was Nick and Dame in particular seemed a little bit tight out there. Now maybe more than a little bit, to be fair. And so my hope is that getting this out of the way, you're playing in a 1-8 or I guess 1-9 to be fair matchup on Saturday. Maybe it'll be a little bit more loose and playing to win rather than not to lose.
I certainly hope Malik can stay on the floor a bit more. I mean, the fouls situation with him, it's not helpful. But let's stay in the chat.
Yeah. One more point on that. I'm glad you brought that up because that hurt us in the first half. Malik had a foul early and Cam had a foul early. And Cam, knowing his value to this team throughout the season, but especially right now, was defending not to foul. And that allowed Siena to get a lot of points in the paint. And it's going to be really important against TCU for our guys to not pick up early fouls. We just don't have any. We didn't have a lot of depth even with Pat. We have no depth now. All right, Archangel, can someone please tell me why Duke is showing the world it wants to lose? We should not be down like that. Man up, play like a number one team. It was brutal performance. Like I can't dispute that. I'm Saunders, bruh. It's okay to shoot the mid range. Just saying, I have no idea why. Seeing it was Siena. Or it was a 16, but great game by them. Shout out to Kaden, though. Definitely gets the gold, in my opinion. Yeah. Kaden saved us. And I agree. There's a few times. I mean, Evans is really the only guy who's shown us a mid-range shot throughout the season. That would have been nice. It just felt like early on it's almost like it was a trap for us. We hit a couple of threes early, and then we just kept shooting them, and they weren't going down, and we didn't establish ourselves inside. TGNC, this would have been so bad if we had lost. You're not kidding, TGNC. I don't think it would have took me maybe until tomorrow to watch another game. I would have been really depressed. Even with that, even though we won the game, I'm going to need a break after we're done here for a little bit before I go back and watch some more basketball. That took some time off of my life here. Laura says resilience is how I describe Duke today. Once they stopped chucking threes and started going inside, they started to be able to turn this game around. Yeah.
Well, and the only thing I'd add to that, I'm just looking at the stats. 18 of 21. One of those games where we did shoot 86% and we needed every one of them. And they were just, again, bad luck for them. They had to keep fouling Evans, and then what, he missed the shot, and then 9 seconds get lopped off the clock, and he winds up with the ball again, and they had to foul him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So one of our misses was slim.
I know.
But what this team has done throughout the year is find different ways to win. And they couldn't make a shot from for the most part, but when they got to the line today, they were able to hit theirs. TGNC, we looked so rattled in the first half as if we were surprised that Siena came to compete. Yeah, it seemed to snowball on us as well. Like we didn't have anybody step up and all right, we're down 12-10 through the first segment, then it was 22-16, then it was 31-22, and by the end of the first half, we were down 11. And at no point did it feel like somebody stepping up and saying like, and maybe that's where we miss Foster, who's been the vocal leader of this team on the court, and being like, guys, we're going to be okay. Let's run this play. Let's do this set. I think the injuries certainly were a factor, but Siena played 5 guys. Like it wouldn't have been an excuse or a reason if.
And it's this group without Big Pat, without Caleb Foster, that just in some cases barely won their 3 games in the ACC, but they were in tough situations against 2 teams arguably much better than Siena.
Yeah. I don't know. The way Siena played in the first half, man, I don't know.
They had a good game plan.
They sure
and
did.
they just and I don't know. There was something also mental. Yes, it's the first game of the March Madness. Yes, we're the presumptive number 1 seed, even though we're without 2 of our starters, but we think we're going to get one back, and then it doesn't happen. And I don't know whether they were like, it's going to be easier because we have Big Pat back. That might have been a little bit of it, but they just played 3 games without him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Monk Sambu, Kaden was the stabilizer. Our MVP gets the gold for sure. Yeah, Kaden and TGNC Kaden was superb. Monk Sambu, Sar block was play of the game. They could have cut it to 2. It was a tremendous block, and then he also broke up what was like an alley-oop attempt as well. He didn't have it offensively today, but defensively, he was a big factor in Duke being able to escape this Siena game with a win.
And it was defensively underneath. It's usually him cutting off the head of the snake. I'm not expecting him to just be dominant underneath. He's got very long arms. He clearly, that is something which I hope will carry over.
He played like Malik Brown.
Yeah. That's where Malik Brown went. Where's Malik Brown? Oh, he's in the body of.
M. Saunders says it reminded them of Adebayo's block on Tatum in Game 7 a few years back. Magnificent. GMAT, that was pretty embarrassing. Siena's last regular season game was against the Rider Broncos, and their conference champions game was versus Merrimack. Both really ugly games. Siena just is not good. Don't know what we were doing in the first half. We really need Big Pat back if we're going to have any comfort against TCU. Having just 2 of our 3 front court players really restricts what we can do. Yeah, it was. How do I want to say this? It was painful, but we avoided embarrassment. Because if we would have lost this game, nobody cares, and I wouldn't have given the benefit of the doubt because Siena only played 5 guys again. So it wouldn't have mattered that we didn't have two starters. We saved ourselves from embarrassment, and now we get to move on. And I do think that is going to help this team in that they get to exhale. They get to exhale. Okay, we survived. We got through the 116, and I think they were in a really tough spot, down double digits in the second half against a 16 seed. Not where you want to be. There's all the fans who stuck around after the Ohio State TCU game. And then you have the North Carolina fans who are there, waiting for their game. So most of the arena, it felt like a road game, I'm sure. And then internally, feeling the pressure of, well, we can't lose to these guys. We're supposed to win. And Siena is playing free. They got house money. And I think that will help them a bit going up against TCU. But with that being said, TCU is a much better team. They just are. AJ1, wake up.
Well, you know what, Jack? We used to always say throughout the course of the season, we play to the level of our opponents. I just didn't think it would happen to a number 16 seed.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. And the worst part is we had stopped doing that after the North Carolina game, really the Pittsburgh game.
Yep, we had our act together.
We were the best team in the country, and I don't think the metrics would say it wasn't close. And then we have the injuries, and now we've got to move forward with the group that we have. And I still think this team can get it done. But, man, I'm gonna need a break after this one. AJ1, wake up call. Duke, you are now in the tournament. Moving forward, I'm encouraged. They now know it's truly one and done. Let's go, Duke.
Well said. Well said.
And Laura says, I have never doubted this team this season. I am not going to start doubting them. Yes, absolutely. Laura's been on that from day one. Monk Sambu, assuming another motivational halftime speech and switching between zone and man-to-man to wake up our guys. Yeah. We played with fire today. We sure did. Sam's 56-52, embarrassing effort, lazy defense in first half, horrible shooting, not much good except a lucky win. Fortunate we got that because we get another day. We get another day. Lawrence Freeman, looking at your stars and telling them if you play all 40 minutes, we'll have a shot is coaching genius from Jerry McNamara. I mean, it worked. It worked. They were right there. Laura says Kaden gets the gold, Cam gets the silver, Isaiah gets the bronze. So far, the ACC is 2-2 in the tournament. Oh yeah, Louisville won today. I was trying to remember that. That got close at the end. It was hard for me to pay attention though because we were losing.
SMU lost.
SMU and NC State lost in the first four, but Louisville and Duke have now had wins.
And I'm very excited that Miami of Ohio won a game and Nebraska.
Yeah, happy for Nebraska. Good for them to get their first tournament win, and they did so in impressive fashion. That second-round matchup between them and Vanderbilt is going to be a lot of fun. I think that's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
Laura says, so far the state of North Carolina has two teams going to the second round, Duke and High Point. Yes. Shout out to High Point. Big win for them over Wisconsin. I saw some people taking Wisconsin as a sleeper team to the Final Four. They were always kind of a strange team in that they could play with anybody, but they also had almost double-digit losses. Now they do have double-digit losses. But right now it's hard for me to think about anybody else. We were on the brink for 40 minutes there. Brody Swing. Unfortunately, this is how this tournament goes from time to time. Siena would have took any team in the country to the wire playing like that. It's Duke's responsibility to impose their will at all costs. y- mm, I'm not sure. I think against 70%.
I agree with this. I definitely agree with the second half of that statement. Duke did not impose their
Right,
will.
right. And I think just thinking of the other number one teams, and this is unfortunately because of the injury to Pat, Arizona, Michigan, Florida imposed their will with their physicality and size up front, and we just were not able to do that. And let's be fair though. If Cam and Malik's fouls were bad in this game, in that they were a foul on an offensive rebound attempt early in the game, 3 minutes in, and then his second foul was on a moving screen. They weren't even defensive fouls. And Duke could have imposed their will with their bigs, but their bigs had early foul trouble. Cam having one foul, I know, is not typically foul trouble, but because Malik had two early, he had to defend without fouling because he had to stay on the court.
We need Malik to not just have the sixth man of the year in the ACC and be the defensive player of the year in the ACC. We need him to actually do that. And I don't understand. It's been like, what'd you say, 3.5 games now that we really haven't had him.
I think what I said before is we've had 3.5 games of good Kaden Boozer. I think it's been, a small difference here, but I think it's been 3 games without really the Malik that we've known. So, because I thought Florida State, he was all right in that game.
I thought you said the first half he was all right. Second half or the other way around. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, let's move on.
Next comment.
All
Moving
right.
on.
GMAD. Our defensive breakdowns continued throughout the first half. That was the main issue. Second half, we clamped down and did our usual defensive job. That was the clear difference. As you said earlier, JD, the zone was a great call by Shire. And then I'll give Malik credit here when Malik came back in late in the second half, we went back to man, and I thought his defense was better at that point in the game.
True.
How much of that was he was fresh and Sienna was tired? Probably some of it, you know.
At some point, you're going to get exhausted. And what's his name for Siena?
Which one? There's only 5 guys. Doty.
I know, and I can't come up with the guy. He was I guess he was running down the court and Sar stepped on him.
Yeah, Doty,
right? And then there's the play where it should have been a turnover when Cam threw the ball,
and he ran in, his face hit like the scoreboard or something there.
This guy is like Superman. He was not coming out of the game. He played 40 minutes. He was getting hit left and right, and I thought he played great.
He sure did. If McNamara gets the Syracuse job, I would not be surprised to see Doty and Folafak. I may be pronouncing that wrong, but both of those guys follow him there. I think they can both play. Well, I don't know if Folafak, because I don't know if he usually plays quite that well, but Doty, from his averages, he's a really good player and was shooting a little bit better than he typically does. Those guys were outstanding for Siena.
All I know is that if there had been a lot of talk about Jerry McNamara taking over, Syracuse just had to increase whatever they're going to pay him.
Even in the loss, yeah, I agree. GMAD says Siena was hitting every shot, though, in fairness, in the first half. Their guards, wings, and I'll include forwards, were shooting way over their averages and hitting some contested shots. Sure were. They sure were.
And yet, even when they came back to earth, as you said, Jack, they still had the lead.
They did, but because they're up by 11, we outscored them by 17 in the second half. Heem to dream. I'm not mad at all. I think this was expected. Maybe not this much, but they've been on an emotional high after winning the ACC and the tournament. They'll bounce back and blow TCU out 100. I hope you're right. I think that's going to be a close game. TCU, we'll talk more about that surely tomorrow on the preview, but TCU defensively is very good, and that's going to be a challenge for this Duke team where they're at right now. Trop uniform can never underestimate anyone in March. Hopefully Duke will learn from this, survive, and advance. Ryan Jones. I hate to be that guy, but if Pat doesn't play Saturday, I'm going to be a little worried. That defensive effort in the first half was abysmal. I think we majorly benefit from the fact that they only have 5 guys playing minutes. Our defense in the second half wore them down a bit. Survive and advance with a team, but with a team with national championship aspirations, today wasn't promising.
No, but could you be any more worried than against the number 16 seed and you can't do anything and you're down by 11 at half? I'm cautiously, fair enough, cautiously optimistic about our next game.
We get Big Pat back. I still believe we could be anybody. But man, without Big Pat, these are going to be some close games. They're going to be close games. And
Jack, we outscored them in the second half 39-22.
Yeah,
you said 17,
yes.
And I just wanted to give some numbers.
I'm just making sure you're aware. When TGNC, when Sarr shot that air ball and then Nick followed by hitting, hold on, it's pretty funny, by hitting the side of the backboard, I said it's over. I don't blame you. Those two guys, especially Nick, have been playing really well offensively of late, and with the way they played, it was tough to see a path at points, especially earlier in the second half. Let's see. Heem to dream. At the end of the day, we are led by a freshman and 2 sophomores. The only senior we have isn't really a scorer. They still have to adjust to the tournament, but they won't sleep well tonight, but they'll bounce back. Yeah.
2 freshmen.
Well, I think what he is saying is typically we are led by a freshman and 2 sophomores. Just one of those sophomores isn't out there in Pat.
Oh,
that's
true.
That's how I'm reading that. But certainly today, 2 freshmen. TGNC, we obviously thought we could just show up and win. Chop uniform, can't look past anybody. I don't care what the seeds are. This isn't the 1 seed, 16 seed of old. Clearly it's not. We've had, it took however many years for a 16 seed to beat a 1. And we've had 2 in the past 6 or 7 years now. And fortunately, we did not have another.
And Jack, you said that, when they commented, the announcers, that Siena was really angry that they were a 16 seed and got the number 1 overall because they felt they deserved to be a 15 seed just to be better. And that you said based upon the analytics, they had an argument.
They did. Their metrics were better than Furman, for example, who is the 15 seed and plays UConn. Just another small way we got a little bit of a tough shake here. The worst 16 seed that wasn't in the play-in, which is where they put the worst rated 16 seeds, was LIU, who plays Arizona. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't. Yeah, no,
it just doesn't matter.
Go there.
Because at the end of the day, whether they were a 14 seed, a 15 seed, or a 16 seed, Duke is supposed to win the game by double digits, and they shouldn't be losing for the majority of the game. Yeah, this is crazy. TJNC, I'm totally exhausted. I need a drink. I'm right there with you. Tropic uniform. Just got to say, go High Point. Glad they won. Little school from North Carolina, not far from where I grew up. If I remember correctly, and I got to look this up here. I remember watching High Point 2 years ago. Yes, I do remember correctly. 2 years ago, I watched them in their conference tournament, in the Big South Conference tournament, and they were winning late. They had a number of players on their team. One of them was Zapala, who ended up last year at Michigan State. Played a bit as a big man for them. They had a guard, Kezajifa, who played for Ole Miss this year. And then lastly, they had Duke Miles, who's the second best player on this year's Vanderbilt team. They had talent, and they weren't able to get over the hump in the conference tournament. So good for them that they made it this year. They won, and then had a big 5-12 upset win over Wisconsin. Good for them. Blue Devil 89, I just lost years off my life. We cannot come out slow Saturday like we did today. 100%. ND Rounder, nice work, gents. Appreciate that. If you're still on with us, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 2,200. One subscriber at a time. We appreciate all the support from you guys. M. Saunders, that State Farm commercial was pretty ominous for a bit. I made the same comment. I did make the same comment in real time. I was like, great commercial, but right now is not the time for this to be playing. Just seems like bad karma. Jeremy Farrell, I know JD is upset the way our players played, but he needs to still stack those hats because we still won. I love this Duke talk. Subscribe to this channel. Appreciate it, Jeremy. JD's got one hat. We gotta get to another win to get to two hats. We're on it, Jeremy. We're on it.
I was instructed by Jack that not one hat, one win. We win Saturday. We get to the second hat. We're
one hat at a time. This is Jeremy's idea. I like it. We're rocking with it here. M. Saunders, it's like someone is telling these guys not to shoot from the free throw line. TJNC, Siena out-rebounded us 18-13 in the first half. Then we won the boards 30-13 in the second half. That's all effort.
All effort, and I think as the second half wore on, they had no legs.
Yeah. And also, we hit more shots in the second half. They missed more shots. That's part of it. But we got a lot more offensive rebounds, which is the effort, and also how much of that was our effort versus them being tired. But, well, final caveat here. I think both teams, quite frankly, were tired. It's not like we were playing a 9-man rotation. We were, played 6 guys and kind of a 7th. ND Rounder, hats off to Siena. Agreed. They had a great game. Tyler the Eggs told y'all about Kaden. He's been great. Let's see. I lost our track here. Okay. ND Rounder, Evans had a big dunk that turned that tide of the game in the second half. He had a couple.
And a couple of incredible drives to the basket. And the one that didn't go in just had too much backspin on it.
Yeah, that was a nice one. Wow, we got a lot of guys. We got a lot of you in the chat. So I am going to start picking out a few as we're getting later into this. And I think we're going to have some games coming back on soon. But we may be at a little bit of a break. We got a little break going on right now. There's usually that break around this time. Who's playing right now? Oh, those are both. All right, we'll keep going. Michigan State's up 20. Arkansas is up 20. All right, next game is North Carolina at 6:50. Nice. Okay. Andy Rounder, glad I didn't take the spread on this one. couldn't take the spread here in New York. M. Saunders, Malik's not going to get the same amount of deflections because he's guarding a taller guy who can play back to the basket. I thought he was decent on D. I've seen him, though, get more deflections than today, even when he's guarding a taller guy. And it's been the past couple of games where I haven't felt him be that nuisance he is defensively and be disruptive.
It's not just the guy he's guarding.
True.
What makes him so valuable is his ability to anticipate passes and be able to get to the pass and deflect it.
Heem's dream, we still cut the faucet off on Siena, just like we've done to pretty much every team we played this year. 6 minutes without a bucket. Their defense is going to carry us to the Final Four. They had a couple of non-scoring stretches in the second half. Blue Devil 89 just received a Duke hat signed by Kaden Boozer this morning that I won from a Duke Facebook group challenge. I knew it was going to be a sign he was going to play very well. Been waiting on it for weeks. The guy's been playing outstanding basketball of late.
That is a great collection item there.
And Brody Swing says Kaden moves smooth like Tyus Jones, tough like Tyus too. And clutch also like Tyus. Laura says this game reminds me of the game against Lipscomb where Duke felt comfortable and kept turning over the ball. It's a good call out, Laura, because the way we defended, especially in the first half, reminded me of that 6-game stretch which started with that Lipscomb game where our defense, each subsequent game, it felt like we gave up more points than the last. And we defended very poorly in the first half and then very well in the second half. All right. A lot of people thought of Lipscomb. Weston Susan, Kaden played great. John should have put Sarr on their best player at the beginning of the game, not Evans on him.
Yep.
We agreed with that. But one of the few things we got right in the preview there, JD.
Certainly wasn't the score.
No, we're awful there. Even with thinking Big Pat was going to play, still, I still wouldn't have predicted a 6-point Duke win. I still would have said 20 points. Major credit to Sienna. Yeah, and D Rounder needs to right the ship against TCU. They've recently beat number 10 Texas Tech and number 5 Iowa State. And earlier in the season, did they beat Florida, or was it very close with Florida? I forgot which one. They're good. They're very good. That game went down to the wire with Ohio State as well. TGNC without Big Pat, Saturday will be an adventure. Yeah. Laura, did you see that Kaden Boozer was named on the AP first team? I did catch that. One of, I think it was 3 freshmen. Him, Acuff, and DeBonsa, if I remember correctly. JT Toppin, and was it Lendeborg or Braden Smith who rounded it out? I forgot. But very deserving of Cam to be on the AP first team. And I'm sure he'll be the player of the year. So we'll see when that is announced. Hopefully, Duke will. Well, we'll leave that for tomorrow. Swisher says TCU doesn't start a player taller than 6'8", so Pat not playing isn't as worrisome. It's a good point. I do think on the flip side, Pat playing would give us a big advantage, and so we lose that potential advantage, but I don't think he's playing.
Yep.
And as Heen the Dream says next, we have to realize Pat ain't coming back for the next game. I don't see it at all. This hype around him coming back just to see him riding around on a scooter, one extra day isn't much. He won't be back till at least next week. I agree. Once they announced he wasn't playing today, I figure the chances of him playing Saturday are slim to none. So we're going to have to get it done again with 7. That will be our 5th game in a row with 7. That'll be 5 games. Let me see if I have my math right. In 8 days, JD, with 7 guys. That is a lot. No, 5 games in 10 days. Yes.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 10.
5 and 10. Okay, I got there eventually. I got there.
The only guys that I know that could do that is Siena. If those guys can play 40 minutes a game, wow.
Yeah, and the other thing with TCU, they're not tall, but they are physical, and they trap defensively. They're not a great shooting team, but they do have a couple of guys who can shoot the ball. So, man, yeah. All right. Switcher says I'm a temporary VCU fan tonight. Yeah. Admissions. Number 1 seed Michigan State found itself in overtime with number 16 Murray State. The only overtime between a 1 and 16 seed in history, surviving 75-71. Good stat there from admissions. Andy Rounder, Malik's third foul was 30 seconds into the second half. Yeah, when and where he's been picking up fouls of late has really hurt this team. He's just got to be smarter with his fouls. It's a good call out. Tropic Uniform asks, is Big Pat officially out for Saturday? I'm coming in late. We haven't heard that he's officially out. What we have heard is he is still day to day, but with him not playing today, I don't think there's a great chance he plays Saturday.
I think we should all, as fans, mentally prepare the opposite of what happened today. A couple of days ago, we thought we had Big Pat, would be great shape. I think we got to go into Saturday's game assuming we don't have Big Pat. And if he comes out and gives us a couple of minutes out of nowhere, I couldn't be happier. But I think we're going to have to, when we do the pregame show, figure it out based on him not playing.
I'll give a little spoiler for tomorrow's preview. I'm going into it, as you said, thinking he's not playing, and my prediction's going to be that Duke is going to win by 1. That's where I'm at right now. I just think it's just survive with the guys we have. TGNC, in the Shire era, Duke has played 12 postseason games after Carolina was eliminated, 7 NCAA, and 5 ACC, outlasting UNC in every single tournament except the 2023 ACC tournament when State beat UNC after beating Duke. That was an abysmal performance by the Blue Devils. That one is seared into my memory for sure. Admission says, without Big Pat, I think we lose the next game or in the Sweet 16. We're going to need him to advance for sure. Laura says, Shire needs to show Malik the game tape of how he played against North Carolina at home. That may help him to do better. If you show a player a good game that can get in his head, we need that Malik. We sure do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Laura says there is talk that Bobby Hurley could be the choice for the Boston College job. Interesting. Would get him close to where his brother is at UConn. And a great segue for me to bring up that Evan Bratz is taking the Belmont job and will be staying with Duke through, their run in the tournament. So congratulations to Coach Bratz. It's a big deal going back to his alma mater. and taking the head coaching job. Happy for him. And whoever comes in next as the next assistant, under John Shire, I mean, it's a good omen. You're going to go get a head coaching job somewhere. And I also heard that they're looking at Charlotte is looking at Coach Dildy to be their next head coach. So it's a good problem to have for Duke. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna pick out a few more here, JD, and then we'll wrap it up. ND Rounder, great experience for our freshmen. They're going to be great leaders for the team next season. Nick and Sar can step it up and light it up on O and D against TCU to lock in a W. Pat needs that rest. Yep. Yeah. Dog Days in Durham. Siena played so well. Props to them. Yes, major props to them. ND Rounder just subscribed. Let's go Duke. Appreciate you, ND Rounder. And then, let's see. All right. Final. We'll do one more here, JD. Switcher says Brown won't have to worry about a taller guy to guard next game at least. Yes, we need Malik Brown to have a big impact next game. We need a little more offense from Sar and Hemenia. And we'll talk about it more tomorrow, but they're going to trap the ball. And so we're going to need to be available and move the ball quickly when they do so off of both Boozers, I imagine. They're going to trap Cam and Kaden when he drives. So we shall see. Any final remarks from you, JD?
I'm exhausted. And as always, I wish to thank all the subscribers that are maybe still on, because after a game like that, the best thing is a little therapy. And you guys provide it, and it's just wonderful to be able to spend an hour with you, maybe longer.
A little bit longer. Yeah, that's right. All right, guys, we'll be back with the preview tomorrow morning. We're going to try to get it out before the games tip off tomorrow at noon. So hopefully, we'll have it dropped by around 11 a.m. or so you can enjoy the rest of the games and then see what we have to say about the preview or have it on, with the volume muted for some of the games, however you want to do it. But we will be back for the post-game show after the TCU game, which we will have the time for tomorrow. I haven't checked yet, but I think a lot of us are going to go enjoy being VCU fans for the next couple hours until tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of the games tonight.